For you, James, do you see a difference in you today from, say, a year and a half ago? Or?
Yeah, huge difference in myself, because the primary vocation is to be a saint, and sometimes you get lost thinking that you have to be more quiet than other people, or you have to look more reverent while you're praying than other people. But your relationship with Christ is everything. And it's amazing to be with these guys who are so relaxed, so normal, so awesome, you know, and they're just as into talking about Christ and spreading the gospel as I am. Mm-hmm. And really, that has tremendously opened my heart to be relaxed and to accept that it's okay to love Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Last week when I was over there, it's a healthy group of men at that place, and we had a great time at dinner.
Yeah, we did. That was a good time.
In fact, someone was saying to me afterwards, "What was going on at your table?" You know, the jokes were funny. It was just, everything was just good.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think there's just the value of being around when you're 18 or 19 or 20, being around, and your faith still matters to you. Being around 20 or 30 other guys who are thinking like you, not exactly the same as you, but in terms of values, they're pretty much on the same page. There's a huge power in that. There's a huge support in that. It's interesting. Sometimes I'll talk to parents, and they'll have concerns about, you know, my son going into a seminary environment that early. Like, that might not be a healthy thing. It's ironic. I mean, parents are willing to drop their son or daughter off at colleges everywhere, where out-of-control behavior happens on a regular basis. You know, everything they want their son or daughter to be avoiding, they know is a part of the reality of college life. But on some level, I think most parents say, well, okay, I hope they don't engage in inappropriate stuff, but I'm still going to leave them there. Like, they're willing to do that, but there's this kind of fear that if my son goes at 19 years old to a place where he has opportunity to pray on a regular basis, be around quality people, and receive the sacraments, that could be problematic. It just seems almost reversed.
Yeah, it's sort of a kind of a strange mistake on what should be a pretty positive take. That's one of the things that I'd like, and just talking like this helps. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do, and let me give myself a commercial for a moment. I just finished what I have been promising for some months. This is only the typescript. It's not printed yet. But I wrote for this year, The Priest, I wrote a pastoral letter that will go out during the month of November. It's dated for the 4th of November, the feast of St. Charles Borromeo, because he was the great bishop of Milan who really built seminaries. And he was the one who implemented the whole seminary training in a practical and very productive way. So I've stolen from the Pope, which is okay. You can steal from the Pope. And I had the same title, I Will Give You Shepherds. And then it's on vocations to the priesthood. And what I'm trying to do is, first of all, explain why vocations are necessary for the life of the church. Then I've got a short thing there in which I try to explain the elements of a vocation, that it's a call from God, that it involves what you just said, James, an encounter with Christ, and that then from that encounter you get a sense that you're called, you're being sent to do something, you're called and sent. And then I say the fourth element in all this is the person himself. And that's where the rest of the church comes in. We need families and parishes and groups and schools to encourage vocations, to be proud of young men and women who respond to a call to priesthood or to religious life, and to say this is a good option for a lifetime of joy, a lifetime of fulfillment, a lifetime of giving back to God by giving to people. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, totally. Absolutely, especially with the families, because that, if you have a saying, good fathers make good fathers. And the family unit, if it's not strong, everything that stems from the family will fall apart. And families are the primary vocation directors. They need to promote Jesus, to bring Jesus back.
You know, I also, being in the position now for 2 years, you know, you think more about the whole question of vocations. Just the whole idea of being called. I think that, you know, to help parents, to help people who are not called to the priesthood, to respect the fact that maybe their son or daughter is called to the church in a unique way. And you think about it, if you're a parent almost objectively, there's a little bit of a disconnect because they weren't called to a life of celibacy. They weren't called to the priesthood or religious life. Now, if their son or daughter is raising this question, there's like an understandable, not concern, but a questioning, because it was not probably their experience. Helping them to say, you know, it isn't about a career. This isn't about some job I want to go work. This is, we're saying, the church says, no, that there's a possibility that this particular guy was called by God to the priesthood. If we believe that, if parents believe in that concept, then how can they not be open to the possibility that maybe their son is, in fact?
Well, don't you think that's a good point, Brian? And it just came into my head now, and see if this makes sense and come back at me. The parallel, the comparison, isn't between the job your dad or your mom has and you're being a priest. The parallel is between their vocation to be husbands and wives, their vocation to marriage, and our vocation to priestly life.
Right.
So that's what's the parallel is.
Right.
And just as they fell in love with each other, and that's a lifelong commitment of love, so we did with the Lord, and that's a lifelong commitment of love too.
Father Joe Fitzgerald has a saying, I'm just quoting everybody, this is crazy. He says, you have to date your vocation. Just like you would date any girl that you're considering marrying, you need to date the priesthood as well. And it's crazy because you're scared and you're frightened, you know, we won't have this physical relationship, but she's the virgin bride of Christ. She's as perfect as they get. And it's hard to see that before you get into the seminary or into a situation where you're pursuing this potential call that God has given you from eternity. But the thing is that we can't be afraid. How many times does God say that in His scriptures? Be not afraid.
And there again, the parallel to a marriage. You know, I had the wedding of my godson back in May, and I adore my godson. He married a beautiful girl, and the night I got up there a day before the rest of the folks. It was up in Western Massachusetts. So I had dinner with the two of them, and just to hear them talk about what they wanted and hoped for in their vocation to each other. And they said, you know, we don't want any of this extrinsic stuff. We want to concentrate on what really matters in our relationship together. And that's what I'm hearing from you. If you had to sum up and say, what's the most important thing that you're to tell the people of God for vocation, to develop vocations and foster them, what would it be?
Me first?
Sure.
I would say the advice that I was given was no matter if you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, if you have a problem, bring it to the Blessed Sacrament. Take it to Jesus. Pray the rosary. These two things, Jesus and Mary, will bring you straight to God.
Brian.
You know, I think the Holy Father talks about this a lot. You know, he uses the word relationship a lot. I think nobody's going to become a priest if they're not in love with Jesus. Billboards and posters and a lot of things that come out of my office they're good, but if a person doesn't have a relationship with Christ, he's not going to become a priest. I don't think. So relationship, and then I think the point you made before about fear and confronting fear and being open.
Yeah. I think you're right. Relationship, prayer, being confident in the Lord because of Him. That's a great way to go forward. Thank you. Thanks for being with us today. In order for me to be more in tune with the viewers, with all of you out there, we'll be starting a new feature here in Faith and New Works. You can email me a question at Bishop Murphy, just very plain, Bishop Murphy, at telecaretv.org. And I'll try to answer your questions right here on the show. So be sure to send in your questions, and I'll do my best to respond to you. This is a great opportunity for us to be together and to expand the way I can interact with all of you who are watching on television. Thanks for being with us. Remember to visit the web space and click on Faith and New Works link to read more about our topic and tune into my weekly podcast. I'm Bishop Murphy. Thank you for being with us. God bless you all.